Congressman, you're calling to ban assault weapons. Your Republican colleagues have been a little hesitant to call for any legislation. I'm going to read you some things that they've said in the past few days. Your colleague, Representative Tim Burch, had said, quote, "We're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals." And House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said that, quote, "We've got to deal with mental illness," and that, quote, "I don't think one piece of legislation solves this." When you hear this from your colleagues, what's your response?
Well, frustration, it's maddening. I know them both. And when I'm in I think, a calmer place, next week, or the week after, I'll start talking to my Republican colleagues about this. I don't think I was in a place to do much that would have been productive this week. The Here are the things that I know to be true. We have a mental health crisis in this country. It's going to take a lot of time and energy and money. A lot of professionals are going to have to be hired, and we got to help people. There's no question that folks are really struggling, particularly after the pandemic. Coming out of the pandemic, almost everyone I know is struggling a little bit or a lot. So, that's true. But it's also true that the last time we banned assault weapons, it worked. The number of these mass shootings went down. And we know that if they're banned and we can get some big chunk of the 20 million assault weapons that are in the country out of the country, and again, we give it to the military where these weapons belong, then the number of lives lost will go down. In every one of these big, awful shootings, if the shooter only had a handgun or a normal rifle or a shotgun, the damage is so much smaller. The number of people who are killed or severely injured goes from 40, 50 to one or two. And so, yeah, the criminals will be criminals. But why are we giving them these weapons that the military uses to gun down armies? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And that's one vote. That is one vote to ban assault weapons. Does it solve all of our gun violence issues? Of course not. Will it help us keep our children and our communities safer? Yes, no question.
Congressman, do you think an assault weapons ban is a non-starter with Republicans?
I hope not. I mean, I hope that when the dust settles and folks go home, they're going to be home for a couple weeks, that they're going to hear what I hear, which is it's time. It's long past time. We got to get rid of these weapons.
Do you think, you mentioned when the dust settles, what's interesting about when there's a shooting, that's when there's protests, that's when there's calls for legislation, and it seems like many people have the criticisms of Congress that nothing gets done. Do you think that that's going to happen now?
No, I'm afraid that this Congress, despite the fact that all we're asking for is a vote on it, is not going to get it done, and it's a travesty. And I'm not going to be part of those who decide to sit this one out. I'm going to keep pushing and making noise about it, and talking to my Republican friends about the importance of getting rid of these weapons. And it has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. Gun ownership in this country is not going anywhere, nor should it. But these weapons should go. These are weapons of war, and they should go. So we will keep pushing, but elections have consequences, and so we need folks who care deeply about this issue to get as involved as they possibly can in these elections and make sure that they're electing people who are committed to getting rid of these weapons.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, in the wake of this shooting, said that he wants to work together as a nation. What does working with Republicans look like specifically to you?
Well, it's the same, when we work with anyone on anything, you sit down and you talk through, where there's common ground and where there's not. My hope is on this issue, if there is common ground on mental health, and even though rhetorically there is, let's put some legislation together and double or triple the number of mental health professionals that are in our communities. Let's do that. And there are some folks, there's a bipartisan gun task force, anti-gun task force that I'm part of. There are some Republicans who are absolutely committed to a whole host of gun safety measures that we haven't passed. I would hope that the universal criminal background check is something that everyone can rally behind. You would hope that getting these weapons of war back to the military and out of our communities would be a bipartisan, everyone would support, deal. But that's going to take some time.